The morning began like any other, with people waking to sunlight spilling across city streets and children running to school. But that normalcy shattered in an instant. A shadow stretched across the entire planet, bigger than any cloud, darker than any storm. People looked up, shielding their eyes, and froze. The sky was filled with shapes unlike anything humans had ever seen. Massive alien ships, sleek and metallic, hovering silently above the Earth. They were immense, blocking out sunlight in parts of Europe, Asia, and America. It was not just a few ships, but thousands, and their perfect formation suggested intelligence and power beyond human comprehension. Panic swept through the streets as sirens screamed and warnings blared from every television and device. World leaders appeared on screens worldwide, their faces pale, their voices tight with tension. Then the broadcast came, not from any country, not in any human language. It was from the ships themselves. A cold, clear voice, mechanical but intelligent, spoke directly to every living person on Earth. "You have 48 hours to surrender unconditionally. Resistance will lead to your destruction." The words were calm, almost polite, but behind them was a clear threat: comply or perish. In homes and offices, people gasped and whispered. Families clutched each other. Soldiers scrambled to their posts, pilots ran to their jets, and scientists stared in disbelief. The first instinct for most was fear, but deep in that fear was a spark of determination. Humanity had survived countless disasters, plagues, wars, natural catastrophes. Now the entire species faced extinction at the hands of beings from the stars. And somehow, instinctively, people refused to accept the demand. Among those staring at the sky was Dr. Lena Rao. She was a quantum physicist, a specialist in communication systems, and someone used to dealing with problems that seemed impossible. When the broadcast reached her lab, she immediately noticed something. While the alien voice was universal, it carried a rhythm, a sequence that repeated at regular intervals. It was almost musical, though not in any way humans could hear without instruments. Lena leaned over her equipment, tapping keys and adjusting frequencies. Her heart raced, but her mind was calm. If there was a pattern, there might be a weakness, and weakness was the only chance humanity had. Meanwhile, across the globe, the alien ships remained stationary, observing, almost studying the humans. Drones and smaller ships occasionally descended, shining powerful lights on cities, but no attacks came, yet. Governments tried to respond, mobilizing their armies, sending jets into the skies, and launching missiles. But the weapons were useless. Missiles evaporated before impact. Jets approached, only to be knocked out of the sky by an invisible force. Humans realized quickly that traditional methods would not work. The aliens were simply too advanced. Lena called her colleagues, gathering a team of engineers and young programmers. They worked feverishly, connecting her lab computers into a network, analyzing the transmissions for weaknesses. Every second counted. 48 hours was not much time to understand a species that could travel across light years, and yet she refused to be overwhelmed. "We can do this," she said to her team. "We have to, otherwise everything ends." Civilians trained in basic defense. Hackers started working from home computers to understand any possible signals. Engineers repurposed machines for defense. Humanity was not a single force, but a collection of desperate, brilliant, and determined minds. And in that collection, something remarkable began to form: unity. In New York, soldiers watched the largest ship, its surface shimmering like liquid metal. They could see the edges of it, massive beyond imagination, stretching far into the clouds. It hovered silently, but its presence alone made every human feel small and fragile. Yet, even as fear gnawed at their minds, they did not retreat. Generals gave orders, pilots prepared to intercept, and ground forces held positions. They knew they were almost powerless, but standing still was better than surrender. It was a statement. Humanity would not give up easily. Lena's team worked through the night. They discovered that the alien signal was not just communication, it was a network, a chain connecting every ship. If one part of the chain faltered, it could cause errors across the fleet. That possibility sparked hope. It was tiny, maybe impossible, but it existed. They began to craft a plan, a way to interfere with the alien network using patterns found in the transmissions. Their strategy was risky. Failure could alert the aliens immediately, bringing their wrath down. But without action, humanity had no chance. As hours passed, news of the alien presence spread worldwide. Leaders of every nation appeared on screens together for the first time in history. They spoke of coordination, shared intelligence, and the need for immediate unity. Borders and politics suddenly seemed irrelevant. The survival of humans was more important than anything else. And yet, even as they spoke, there was fear. They could not deny the aliens' power, nor the slimness of humanity's chance. In homes and apartments, ordinary citizens tuned in to broadcasts, desperate for guidance. Children clung to parents, and parents tried to remain calm, though their voices shook. Stories began emerging of people using creativity to fight back. A man in Brazil modifying drones to drop EMP devices, a group in Japan hacking satellites to relay signals, scientists in Germany improvising weapons to jam signals. Small victories, small sparks of hope, spread like wildfire. Humanity was beginning to fight back in ways that aliens would never predict. Night fell and still the ships hovered. Lights from the vessels painted the clouds in silver and blue. Some people slept, but most did not. On the streets, volunteers handed out supplies. On rooftops, technicians adjusted antennas. In labs, Lena and her team monitored transmissions, refining their approach. The aliens had given 48 hours. In less than 24, humanity had to show that surrender was not an option. In the sky above London, a ship shifted slightly, as if aware of human activity below. Across oceans, other ships responded, subtly repositioning. The aliens were watching, learning, adapting. They expected humans to panic, to crumble, to beg for mercy. But they were wrong. Humanity was unpredictable. Humanity was bold, and the unpredictability itself was becoming a weapon. Lena's team finished the first test sequence. The computers analyzed the alien pattern, and for a brief moment, something unexpected happened. A small signal in the alien network flickered like a pulse, almost like a hesitation. The team held their breath. It was tiny, almost imperceptible, but it was enough. They had found a crack, a place where human ingenuity could reach into alien technology. It was fragile, uncertain, and dangerous, but it was hope. Outside, people continued to mobilize. Every city became a hub of action, every individual a contributor to the larger goal. Civilians, soldiers, scientists, and engineers worked side by side, united by one mission: survive and protect the planet. The alien ships above, powerful and mysterious, loomed as reminders of the stakes. But humanity refused to be silent, refused to be coward. As the first day passed, the clock ticked toward the halfway mark of the alien ultimatum. Lena looked at her team, her eyes tired but resolute. "We've taken the first step," she said. "We've proven we can touch their network. The next step is bigger, riskier, but if we fail, humanity fails. We have no choice but to try." The aliens had underestimated Earth, and even if they did not yet know it, the human spirit was ready to rise against impossible odds. The clock ticked on. 48 hours remained. Somewhere in the shadows of the massive alien ships, the first subtle changes began. A flicker in a control system, a delay in a movement, tiny errors almost unnoticeable. Humanity had touched them just enough to make a difference. And for the first time, humans dared to hope. Not everyone, not everywhere, but enough to ignite a spark that could grow into a fire capable of resisting even the most powerful alien fleet. Lena looked at her monitors, listening to the faint, imperceptible hum of the alien network. It was a hum she had learned to read, to understand, to exploit. "We have work to do," she whispered. Around her, her team nodded, aware that the next hours would be the most dangerous in human history. But they were ready. Humanity was ready. The night stretched on, quiet but tense. Outside, the world waited, watched, and hoped. The ships remained above, silent watchers, unaware that they had already underestimated the species below. Humanity, clever, resilient, and unpredictable, had just begun to fight, and the battle for Earth was only starting. The morning after the arrival of the alien fleet was tense, filled with quiet determination. Cities were scarred by fear, but people had begun to move past panic. Humanity had survived wars, disasters, and countless threats before, but nothing like this. The challenge was unprecedented. And yet, the world was waking to the realization that surrender was not an option. People could not simply hand over their planet to beings they barely understood. In a small laboratory in India, Dr. Lena Rao and her team worked through the early hours of the day. The first tests on the alien communication network had shown promise, but success had been minimal. The flicker in the system was tiny, barely enough to disrupt a single drone. Yet it was proof that human ingenuity could touch the alien fleet. Lena understood that one small disruption was just the beginning. The real task would be to scale it up, enough to create confusion across the entire network. Her team divided their tasks with military precision. One group analyzed the alien signal patterns for timing weaknesses. Another built algorithms to mimic and inject controlled errors into the network. Hackers from around the world connected through encrypted channels, sharing code and testing strategies in real time. Even though humans were vastly outmatched in technology, they had something aliens did not: creativity and adaptability. Meanwhile, across the globe, civilians contributed in ways that surprised even the scientists. In Brazil, engineers modified satellites to create interference signals. In Japan, drone enthusiasts repurposed civilian drones to carry small electronic devices meant to jam alien sensors. Soldiers trained in unconventional tactics. Every corner of the world, people prepared to fight in ways the aliens could not predict. Humanity's unpredictability was becoming their greatest weapon. But the aliens were not idle. As the day progressed, their ships began to move. Drones and smaller vessels descended upon cities, scanning for signs of resistance. A military base in North America was destroyed with precision, demonstrating that human weapons were largely ineffective. The display of power was intended to terrify, but it also clarified something vital. The aliens were not omniscient. Their strategy was focused on control and intimidation, not understanding human behavior. Humanity could exploit that. In the United States, a young hacker named Marcus adjusted his homemade transmitter, sending pulses into the air. He watched as small alien drones near his city flickered, momentarily losing coordination. Marcus knew it was minor, almost negligible, but it was enough to prove that humans could interfere. News of similar incidents spread quickly, creating a wave of cautious optimism. People began to believe that they were not helpless. Lena and her team planned the next step carefully. The first test had been small, almost symbolic. Now they needed to target a critical part of the alien network, the central signal hubs that connected multiple ships. Disabling even one hub could create confusion among dozens of drones. It was risky. If they failed, the aliens would detect the intrusion and retaliate immediately, yet the risk was worth it. Humanity had no alternative. World leaders finally began to coordinate more effectively. The realization that a unified approach was essential led to emergency global meetings via secure satellite links. Countries that had previously been in conflict now shared resources and intelligence. Military forces, scientific teams, and civilian volunteers began to operate as a single global task force. Borders became meaningless in the face of a common threat. The enemy was not human, and the enemy's power was immense, but humans had courage and creativity in abundance. The first coordinated strike against the alien network was set in motion as evening approached. Across the planet, teams synchronized their actions. Satellites transmitted interference signals, drones carried jamming devices, and computer algorithms injected controlled errors. It was the most complex human operation ever attempted, and every participant knew the risks. In New York, a squadron of fighter jets attempted to distract alien drones, drawing them away from a city center. Though their weapons had limited effect, their movement forced the alien ships to adjust, inadvertently helping the human signal disruption. Lena monitored the network, watching for any signs of success. Minutes felt like hours, and each flicker or delay in the alien signals caused tension to spike. Then it happened. A ripple of confusion spread across the alien fleet. Drones collided, small ships lost synchronization, and some vessels momentarily drifted off course. It was minor compared to the alien power, but it was a victory. Humanity had shown that they could resist. In homes and labs worldwide, people cheered quietly. They knew it was only the beginning, but it was proof that hope was real. Despite the success, the human teams were not complacent. Lena knew the aliens would adapt quickly. Their ships were intelligent, able to process new information and adjust strategy. Humanity's advantage was temporary unless they acted fast. The plan had to evolve. She began mapping the next stage of attack, targeting communication nodes deeper within the fleet, using more precise injections to disrupt larger sections at once. At the same time, civilians continued to contribute in creative ways. In remote areas of Russia, farmers set up signal reflectors to confuse alien scanners. In Europe, volunteers built electromagnetic pulse generators using scavenged materials. Humans were proving that ingenuity could rival raw technology. The aliens had counted on fear, but they had underestimated human collaboration and determination. Night fell, and the alien ships remained above, silent observers of the human world. Their lights glimmered like cold stars, But for the first time, there were small signs of hesitation. The human strikes had caused unexpected behavior. Ships hovered uncertainly, some drones circled back toward command vessels as if seeking guidance. The aliens' predictability was gone. Humans had injected chaos into the system, and that chaos was the first true victory. In a small command center beneath the streets of London, a team of engineers watched feeds from drones and satellites. They recorded every detail of alien movements, analyzing patterns and noting errors. Each glitch was a lesson, each disruption a potential strategy. The global effort was beginning to feel like a chess game, with humanity making unpredictable moves against a far superior opponent. Even as the human teams celebrated, reality remained harsh. The aliens had power to destroy cities, and any mistake could cost millions of lives. The pressure was immense, and the psychological strain was visible. Volunteers took shifts to rest, but no one could fully relax. The clock ticked relentlessly, counting down the 48-hour ultimatum. Humanity's window was closing. Lena gathered her team for a briefing. "We've proven we can disrupt them," she said. "But that was small. We need to escalate. Our next targets are larger nodes, connections that control entire sections of their fleet. If we succeed, we can create real confusion and slow their operations. We can make them hesitate." Her team nodded, understanding the gravity of what was coming. Every keystroke, every pulse, every decision could tip the balance between survival and annihilation. The world outside was a mix of fear and action. Streets were filled with volunteers distributing supplies, engineers repairing communication lines, and military units securing key points. Humanity was mobilizing as a single organism, united by the threat above. Even as the aliens displayed overwhelming power, humans demonstrated that determination, creativity, and collaboration could level the playing field. In the skies over Tokyo, small human-made drones interfered with alien patrols, forcing minor course corrections. In South America, engineers modified existing satellites to send pulses that caused momentary signal loss. Across Africa, scientists developed software to interpret alien signals and inject false commands. Each action was small alone, but together they formed a global counterstrike. By midnight, the first full disruption sequence was ready. Lena and her team executed it, watching as the alien network experienced widespread, albeit temporary, malfunctions. Drones collided, small ships drifted aimlessly, and some command systems momentarily lost control. Humanity had taken the fight to the aliens, showing that even against overwhelming power, intelligence and creativity could make a difference. The aliens responded quickly, their drones scanning for disturbances, their ships adjusting formation, their sensors searching for the source. But humans were nimble. The decentralized nature of the attacks made it impossible to target a single source. Volunteers, engineers, and hackers moved quickly, shifting operations to avoid detection. The unpredictability of human action was becoming a weapon the aliens had not accounted for. In every home, lab, and control center, people felt a cautious optimism. Humanity had not surrendered. Humanity had fought back, and though the battle was far from over, the first true signs of resistance were clear. The aliens had underestimated humans, and that underestimation could be decisive. Lena sat in her lab, exhausted but focused. "They expected panic," she said quietly. "They expected obedience, but we are not obedient, we are not predictable. And now they know it." Her team exchanged tired smiles. They understood the stakes and the risks, but they also understood the truth. Humanity was capable of extraordinary feats when pushed to the edge. The night stretched on, and the alien ships hovered above, powerful and mysterious. But for the first time, there was tension in their movements, hesitation in their patterns. Humans had struck back, not with brute force, but with ingenuity, collaboration, and courage. The world was united, small sparks of hope glowing in homes, labs, and streets everywhere. As the clock continued to count down, humans prepared for the next stage. The first disruptions had proven their potential, but greater challenges awaited. Larger nodes, more critical targets, and more direct confrontation with alien systems lay ahead. Yet even in the face of unimaginable danger, humanity's spirit was unbroken. The alien ultimatum had not crushed them. Instead, it had awakened the creativity, courage, and unity that defined the species. Dr. Lena Rao looked at the stars above the city and thought about what lay ahead. The aliens were powerful, but humans had something no machine, no advanced technology, and no invader could predict: The will to survive, the ability to adapt, and the courage to fight when the odds were impossible. Humanity's first victory was small, but it was real. And it was only the beginning. The world below the alien ships was alive with action. Engineers, scientists, soldiers, and civilians all played a part. Together, they were beginning to show the universe that humans were not weak, not passive, and certainly not to be underestimated. The battle was far from over, but humanity had taken the first steps toward proving that they could stand, fight, and survive. And as the night deepened, the alien fleet above began to show signs of the first hesitation, the first cracks in their confidence. Humanity had struck. Humanity had resisted, and humanity would not surrender. The sun rose on the second day of the alien ultimatum, casting pale light across cities that had never slept through such fear. Humanity was awake, alert, and in action. The first disruptions of the alien network had shown that resistance was possible, but they had also revealed the enemy's capacity to adapt. The aliens were learning, analyzing human tactics and adjusting. Yet humans had something the aliens could not calculate: creativity, courage, and the ability to act unpredictably. Doctor. Lena Rao sat in her lab, surrounded by screens filled with data streams from alien signals. Every flicker, every pulse, every minor glitch was analyzed in real time. Her team worked tirelessly, modifying algorithms and coordinating global networks. Small victories from the previous night had proven that human ingenuity could touch the alien fleet. Now it was time to escalate. The next stage was far riskier, but it promised greater disruption. Around the world, civilians and professionals alike mobilized. In South Korea, engineers modified military communication satellites to relay interference signals. In Canada, volunteers worked on a fleet of drones designed to confuse alien sensors. Hackers in India coordinated complex injections into the alien network, spreading their influence across multiple ships simultaneously. Every small act was part of a larger plan, a human tapestry of resistance woven across the planet. But the aliens were not idle. As humans escalated, the ships above began subtle countermeasures. Drones moved more cautiously, formations shifted, and command nodes reinforced their communication links. One of the alien vessels released a pulse that momentarily shut down a small city's power grid in Europe. The display was precise, controlled, and meant to remind humans of the stakes. Fear returned, but so did determination. Humanity had already survived countless catastrophes. This would be no different. Lena and her team prepared for a coordinated strike against the alien command nodes. These nodes controlled multiple ships and drones simultaneously. Disrupting them could create widespread confusion and force the aliens to adjust their tactics. The plan required precise timing, synchronization across continents, and flawless execution. It was dangerous, but failure was not an option. Humanity had to show that resistance was real, effective, and unstoppable. In Tokyo, a group of engineers monitored drone activity over the city. They observed alien patrols, their every move, and identified patterns in their scanning routines. Using small, modified drones, they inserted pulses that interfered with sensors and created blind spots. These blind spots allowed human teams to operate closer to key alien nodes, planting devices designed to disrupt communications. Every movement was calculated, every action part of a broader strategy. Meanwhile, in New York, military units worked alongside engineers to coordinate a diversion. Fighter jets flew low, drawing attention, while ground-based teams activated electromagnetic pulses. The effect was small, but it forced some alien drones to hesitate, giving the human networks a critical window. The first wave of coordinated attacks began, and for the first time the alien fleet experienced simultaneous disruptions in multiple locations. Across Europe, civilians adapted in real time. Hackers monitored alien signals, engineers improvised hardware, and volunteers deployed communication relays. Each minor success built confidence. Humanity was no longer reacting. It was acting, shaping the battle in ways the aliens had not predicted. The alien fleet, powerful and precise, was being slowed by the sheer unpredictability of human collaboration. As the strikes unfolded, minor chaos spread through the alien ships. Drones collided, small vessels lost synchronization, and command signals flickered. The disruptions were temporary, but they were enough to prove that humans could interfere on a meaningful scale. For the first time, the alien fleet hesitated. They recalculated, repositioned, and analyzed, but the unpredictability of human tactics made every adjustment uncertain. Dr. Rao watched the screens, tension high, yet a spark of satisfaction in her eyes. Humanity had turned the tables, showing that raw power was not the only factor in warfare. Intelligence, creativity, and the courage to act without guarantee of success were just as potent. Humanity was learning, adapting, and exploiting every weakness the aliens had overlooked. In small towns and cities worldwide, ordinary citizens played their part. Farmers repurposed generators to supply hidden laboratories. Students modified satellites to relay interference signals. Engineers created mobile devices capable of disrupting sensors on small alien drones. Every person became part of the larger operation, demonstrating that human strength lay not just in technology, but in unity and ingenuity. The aliens began responding with precision strikes. Cities that had launched interference signals faced targeted scans, and minor attacks disrupted human operations. Some teams were forced to retreat temporarily, losing valuable devices and equipment. Yet these setbacks did not break the human spirit. Each failure became a lesson, a new strategy, and an adaptation. Humanity learned faster than the aliens anticipated, turning every mistake into an opportunity. By afternoon, the second stage of the plan was underway. Coordinated attacks targeted the central communication hubs connecting dozens of ships. Lena's team guided the operation, adjusting signals in real time, reacting to every flicker and hesitation from the alien fleet. Humanity had reached a critical point. If this phase succeeded, it could create confusion on a scale never experienced in the galaxy. The first hub flickered, then stuttered, before small drones detached and collided. The effect rippled through multiple ships, forcing adjustments and minor collisions. The aliens responded with swift calculations, yet human unpredictability continued to frustrate them. Signals were injected in ways that seemed random to the aliens, but were meticulously planned by human teams. The global counterattack was becoming an unstoppable force, limited only by human imagination. In the skies above London, drones and satellites combined with ground-based interference to create temporary blind zones. These zones allowed teams to infiltrate positions near alien nodes, sending controlled pulses into the network. The effects were visible almost immediately. Ships shifted formation, some signals faltered, and minor chaos spread through sections of the fleet. Humanity's first real victory on a large scale was taking shape, but the aliens were learning quickly. Their sensors adapted, command nodes reinforced communication links, and drones moved with increased caution. Every success by humans required rapid adaptation. Lena and her team worked tirelessly, adjusting algorithms and coordinating attacks. The tension was palpable, but determination drove them forward. Failure was not an option. Survival demanded perfection, but courage demanded action. Across the globe, people watched as news of small victories spread. Even minor disruptions in alien operations became symbols of human defiance. Children who had been hiding in fear learned that their parents and neighbors were not powerless. Soldiers, engineers, and volunteers felt a growing pride in the global effort. Humanity was showing the galaxy that they could not be crushed by fear alone. The sun set, casting long shadows over cities that had worked tirelessly for survival. For the first time, humans saw the alien ships hesitate in ways they could measure. It was subtle, almost imperceptible, but enough to confirm a truth long denied by panic. Humans could fight back. The disruption had caused minor confusion, and the alien fleet had to pause, recalibrate, and assess the situation. Humanity had forced the enemy to think, a victory in itself. In a small command center in Germany, a team of engineers monitored multiple nodes simultaneously. Every success, every flicker in alien signals was recorded and analyzed. They were beginning to see patterns, weaknesses, and opportunities. The battle was far from over, but humanity had begun to shape the fight on its terms. The aliens had underestimated creativity, determination, and the power of collaboration. Dr. Rao gathered her team for a debrief. "We've made them hesitate," she said. "They are powerful, yes, but they are not perfect. Every disruption we cause teaches us more about their network. We are learning faster than they can adapt. That is our advantage. That is human strength." Her team nodded, understanding the gravity of their position. They were small, fragile, and mortal, but they were capable of extraordinary acts when united by purpose. Night fell and the alien ships hovered above, silent and foreboding. Drones patrolled cautiously, signals flickered, and command nodes adjusted with visible hesitation. Humanity had achieved something remarkable. They had forced a powerful, advanced species to pause, to reconsider, and to adapt to the unpredictable actions of a species they thought insignificant. Across the planet, humans prepared for the next phase. They repaired damaged equipment, refined algorithms, and coordinated movements for the coming hours. Every city, town, and village was a node in a global network of resistance. Even small contributions, from a single drone to a minor signal pulse, played a part in the larger struggle. Humanity had proven that they could strike, disrupt, and resist, but the fight was far from over. Dr. Rao looked at the alien ships through the lab's reinforced glass. They were massive, silent, and formidable, but for the first time she saw hesitation in their patterns. Humanity had shown them something they had not expected: courage, ingenuity, and the ability to act unpredictably. The alien ultimatum had not broken humans, it had awakened them. The night passed slowly, filled with tension, vigilance, and quiet celebration. Humanity had proven that resistance was possible. They had disrupted alien systems, forced the fleet to pause, and shown that, even against overwhelming power, ingenuity and determination could prevail. Every team, every volunteer, every individual had contributed to a victory that was as much psychological as it was technological. As the clock ticked closer to the final hours of the alien ultimatum, humans stood ready. They had learned, adapted, and struck back. The first major confrontation had been survived, and humanity had proven that they were unpredictable, capable, and determined. The aliens had underestimated the species they had hoped to dominate, and now humanity had begun to shape the battle in ways that the invaders could neither predict nor control. Dr. Rao and her team prepared for the next escalation. The alien network was vast, powerful, and intelligent, but humans had found cracks. Every success, no matter how small, built momentum. Humanity's spirit was unbroken, their courage intact, and their ingenuity limitless. The battle for Earth was far from over, but for the first time, humans had forced the aliens to hesitate. And in that hesitation lay hope. Humanity had struck. Humanity had resisted. Humanity had begun to show the galaxy that they would not surrender, that they could fight, and that they were far more dangerous than the aliens had ever imagined. The countdown was relentless. With only 12 hours left on the alien ultimatum, humanity faced a moment of truth. Cities were still alive with activity, but exhaustion had begun to take its toll. Soldiers, engineers, scientists, and volunteers moved like shadows through streets and labs, driven by determination rather than hope alone. The first disruptions had shown that resistance was possible, but now the stakes had never been higher. Failure meant extinction. Success meant survival and pride. Dr. Lena Rao studied the alien network with a mix of tension and focus. The earlier disruptions had created minor chaos in the fleet, but the aliens were quick learners. Their communication nodes had begun to adapt, and the fleet moved with increasing caution. Lena knew the only way to maintain the advantage was a decisive strike, something large enough to shake the alien fleet at its core. She called it the final pulse. Every contribution, no matter how small, was crucial. Humanity's strength lay in its collective action. In South America, a group of engineers fine-tuned pulse emitters mounted on drones. These small machines could infiltrate alien drones and emit targeted interference signals, disrupting communication links. Nearby civilians assisted, carrying equipment, running cables, and monitoring outputs. Every hand, every eye, every mind worked toward the single goal of survival. Ordinary people had become warriors in a battle that spanned the globe. The alien fleet responded aggressively. Ships shifted formation, small vessels scanned cities, and drones descended to evaluate the disruptions. A minor strike in Africa had already provoked an immediate response. Some human interference devices were destroyed, and panic threatened to spread. But humans adapted quickly. Teams relocated, signals were rerouted, and devices redeployed. The aliens expected obedience and fear, but they were met instead with action, ingenuity, and resilience. Lena and her team monitored the network, adjusting the pulse sequence in real time. It was a delicate operation. Even a slight error could alert the aliens to the human source, leading to devastating retaliation. But precision, coordination, and human creativity allowed them to navigate the complex system. The first signals of the final pulse began to ripple across the alien network. Small flickers turned into larger disruptions. Drones hesitated, ships wavered in formation, and minor collisions occurred. In London, a squadron of fighter jets engaged in diversionary tactics. They drew alien attention while ground-based devices amplified the pulse effect. Missiles were useless, but human movement was unpredictable. Every maneuver forced the alien fleet to adjust, creating openings for the network disruption to reach deeper nodes. Humanity was striking not with brute force but with strategy, coordination, and unpredictability. Across the Pacific, civilian hackers monitored alien drones, analyzing signals and injecting subtle errors. They coordinated with teams thousands of miles away, their work forming a complex network of interference that touched multiple ships at once. The aliens could not anticipate the distributed, decentralized nature of human action. Humanity was no longer reacting. They were controlling parts of the battle. As the hours passed, the effects became more visible. Alien command nodes flickered and minor systems failed. Small ships detached unexpectedly, drones collided, and communication signals wavered. Humanity's final pulse was working. The aliens were beginning to experience the chaos that humans had only hoped to create. And with every error in their system, confidence faltered. For the first time, the fleet faced uncertainty. Yet the aliens were formidable. They began recalibrating their network, rerouting signals, and attempting to isolate disruptions. Some ships corrected minor errors, and certain drones regained coordination. But the humans had already anticipated adaptation. Algorithms were adjusted, interference signals redirected, and drones redeployed. The dance of attack and counterattack continued, with humans exploiting every weakness with creativity and speed. In New York, civilians and soldiers worked side by side, coordinating small drone strikes with field interference devices. Every person understood the importance of timing. A delay of even seconds could nullify an entire sequence. Yet humans thrived under pressure. Fear had not stopped them. It had sharpened their focus, driving them to act with precision and courage. Lena focused on the central command nodes. They were the most critical and most dangerous targets. Disrupting them could create confusion across the entire fleet, potentially causing widespread errors and forcing retreat. Her hands flew across keyboards, adjusting pulses, recalibrating frequencies, and coordinating teams around the world. Sweat poured down her face, but she did not stop. Humanity was relying on her, and she would not fail. In Asia, engineers modified satellites to relay amplified signals directly into the alien nodes. Drones infiltrated previously secure areas, emitting pulses that interfered with internal communications. For the aliens, these disruptions were unexpected. They had calculated human reactions based on fear, not ingenuity. And now they were forced to contend with a species that could adapt, improvise, and strike back with unpredictable effectiveness. By late evening, the final pulse reached its peak. Alien ships wavered, drones collided, and communication nodes flickered uncontrollably. Sections of the fleet began to drift apart, unsure of orders, as minor chaos spread through the network. The humans below watched anxiously, knowing that one misstep could reverse all progress, but the pulse held. The aliens were in disarray, forced to react to a species they had underestimated. Dr. Rao's team monitored the results with tense satisfaction. "It's working," she said quietly. "They're confused, they're hesitant, and that hesitation is our advantage." Her team nodded, understanding that human perseverance and ingenuity had reached a critical point. Ordinary people, armed with knowledge, creativity, and courage, were challenging a vastly superior force. As night deepened, the global effort continued. Engineers, soldiers, and civilians maintained interference pulses, monitored signals, and adapted to alien adjustments. Humanity had become a single, coordinated organism, united by determination and intelligence. Every flicker in the alien network was proof that humans could fight, disrupt, and survive. But the aliens were not defeated. Some ships regained partial control, and drones resumed patrolling in cautious, measured patterns. They were intelligent, adaptive, and relentless. Humanity's efforts had disrupted them, but the fleet remained formidable. The final hours of the ultimatum would test human courage, skill, and resilience to their limits. In the United States, civilians and military units prepared for potential retaliation. Every human contribution counted, and coordination was essential. Communication lines were maintained, signals monitored, and interference devices ready. Humanity had proven that resistance was possible, but survival required constant vigilance. Lena gathered her team for a briefing. "We've shown them we can fight," she said. "But the battle is not over. The next hours will be the hardest. They will adapt, retaliate, and test us. Our work now is to maintain pressure, anticipate their moves, and strike with precision. Humanity's strength is not in weapons alone. It is in our courage, intelligence, and unity. Her team nodded, understanding that the coming hours could decide the fate of the planet. Around the world, people continued to act. Children who had witnessed fear now saw determination in their parents. Soldiers, engineers, and volunteers worked in unison, proving that humanity could act as one despite borders, politics, or previous divisions. The alien ultimatum had not broken humans, it had awakened them. As the final hours approached, minor victories became symbols of defiance. Alien drones hesitated in the skies above Paris. Communication nodes flickered above Beijing. Small vessels collided in orbit above Brazil. Every disruption, every hesitation, every error reminded humanity that they could resist, adapt, and survive. Dr. Rao looked out at the stars, imagining the alien ships hovering above. They were massive, intelligent, and powerful, yet they had underestimated the human spirit. The humans below were not just reacting. They were creating, innovating, and fighting in ways that the aliens could not predict. Humanity had turned the threat of annihilation into a battlefield where courage and ingenuity could prevail. The night stretched on, tense and quiet, but filled with purpose. Humanity's pulse, both literal and symbolic, continued to disrupt the alien network. Each flicker of confusion, each hesitation in formation, each minor collision was a testament to the power of unity and intelligence. Humans had become a force the aliens could not easily suppress. In laboratories and command centers worldwide, humans prepared for the final stage of resistance. The aliens were learning, adapting, and retaliating, but humanity had proven that they could strike back, disrupt, and endure. The final pulse had shaken the fleet, forcing hesitation, and proving that humans could act unpredictably and effectively. As the clock ticked toward the last few hours of the ultimatum, humanity braced for the ultimate challenge. The alien fleet was vast, intelligent, and powerful, but humans had something no machine could predict: courage, ingenuity, and the will to survive. The final confrontation was approaching, and humanity was ready to prove that they would not surrender, that they could fight, and that their spirit could not be broken. And in the silence of the night, under the shadow of immense ships, humanity prepared to strike once more. The alien ultimatum had not defeated them. Instead, it had awakened a global force united by courage, intelligence, and the relentless will to survive. The stage was set for the final battle, and humanity was ready to show that they were far more dangerous than the aliens had ever imagined. The final hours of the alien ultimatum had begun. Humanity had survived, adapted, and struck back, but now the moment of truth was at hand. The alien ships, massive and silent, hovered above Earth, their presence oppressive and terrifying. Every human watched, waited, and hoped. Fear had not disappeared, but it had transformed into determination. Humanity had shown that they could fight, but now they needed to prove that they could win. Dr. Lena Rao stood at the heart of the command center, surrounded by her team of engineers, scientists, and coordinators. Screens glowed with data from satellites, drones, and interference devices around the world. The final plan was in motion: a coordinated global strike aimed at the alien command network, designed to disrupt, confuse, and ultimately force a retreat. Every signal, every pulse, every maneuver had been tested in simulation, but nothing could fully predict the response of an intelligent, adaptive fleet. Outside, cities were alive with human activity. Volunteers transported equipment, repaired devices, and monitored signals. Soldiers manned positions, guiding drones and coordinating movements. Civilians worked alongside professionals, showing courage and skill that had emerged only under extreme pressure. Humanity had become a single, unified force, acting with intelligence, creativity, and purpose. The aliens had underestimated this spirit, and now they were about to feel it fully. The first wave of the final strike began at sunset. Drones infiltrated alien patrols, emitting interference signals that caused minor confusion. Satellites relayed amplified pulses into critical communication nodes. Engineers and hackers coordinated globally, injecting precise errors into the network. Every action, every decision, every small success contributed to a larger pattern. Humanity was not relying on brute force. They were using ingenuity, adaptability, and coordination to challenge a far superior power. Above New York, Alien drones hesitated, colliding in small clusters as signals flickered. The first real signs of major disruption appeared. Ships wavered in formation, command nodes momentarily faltered, and the once perfect coordination of the fleet became chaotic. For the first time, humans had created large-scale confusion in the alien forces. It was visible, measurable, and undeniable. Humanity had touched the invincible. Lena and her team monitored the effects with tense satisfaction. "It's working," she said, her voice barely audible above the hum of computers. "They are reacting to us. They are unsure, and in that uncertainty we have power." Around her, the team worked tirelessly, adjusting pulses, rerouting signals, and coordinating drones. Each minor correction kept the final strike on course, ensuring that disruption spread across the entire fleet. Across the globe, ordinary humans played extraordinary roles. In Tokyo, engineers manipulated satellites to extend the range of interference signals. In London, volunteers guided small drones through blind zones, ensuring maximum coverage. In South America, students and engineers worked in tandem to target communication nodes in isolated parts of the fleet. Every contribution, no matter how small, had an impact. Humanity was proving that collective intelligence and courage could rival even the most advanced alien technology. The aliens were not passive. Ships recalibrated, drones patrolled with increased precision, and command nodes attempted to isolate the disruptions. But human ingenuity was relentless. Teams adapted instantly, rerouting signals and modifying pulse sequences. The aliens had expected predictable fear, but they were met instead with calculated, unpredictable action. Humanity's unpredictability had become a weapon more powerful than any missile or cannon. In the skies over Europe, a large alien vessel drifted off course, its small drones colliding in confusion. Satellites had relayed interference signals into the ship's network, causing internal chaos. Engineers monitored the data feeds, noting each error and adjusting sequences to amplify disruption. This was no longer minor disruption. It was widespread confusion across significant sections of the alien fleet. Humanity had reached a point where they could influence the actions of ships that had seemed untouchable hours earlier. Dr. Rao knew the decisive moment was approaching. The central command nodes controlled the majority of the fleet. Disrupting them could cause large-scale confusion, forcing ships to retreat or risk internal collisions. She coordinated with her global team, timing every pulse with precision, ensuring that interference signals converged on the command nodes simultaneously. It was a risky maneuver, but the alternative was surrender, and humanity would not surrender. As the final pulse reached the nodes, the effects were immediate. Communication lines flickered uncontrollably. Drones collided, ships shifted erratically, and command sequences faltered. The once perfect alien coordination was breaking down under the weight of human ingenuity. Across Earth, people watched, listening to live data feeds, monitoring satellite images, and tracking interference signals. Humanity had forced hesitation on a scale never seen before. The aliens responded aggressively, attempting to regain control. Targeted pulses disabled interference devices in small areas, and some drones resumed patrols. Yet humans anticipated these reactions. Backup devices, alternate pulse sequences, and adaptive strategies kept the disruption ongoing. Every attack was met with a countermeasure, and every countermeasure was met with human adaptation. The dance continued, and humanity had learned the rhythm faster than the aliens could. In New York, soldiers and volunteers worked side by side, guiding drones and monitoring interference devices. Civilians carried equipment, repaired failures, and adjusted signals on the fly. The alien fleet could not predict the decentralized, adaptive human network. For every drone the aliens destroyed, humans had already deployed 2 more, each carrying interference devices designed to confuse, distract, and disrupt. The aliens faced a species that refused to be defeated, that could learn faster than their advanced calculations could anticipate. By midnight, large sections of the alien fleet were in disarray. Drones collided repeatedly, command nodes flickered uncontrollably, and some small vessels drifted off course entirely. The aliens, intelligent and calculating, could not restore perfect coordination quickly enough. Their power was immense, but it had limits. Humanity had exploited those limits, demonstrating that courage, creativity, and adaptability were as dangerous as any weapon. Lena watched the network data and allowed herself a moment of quiet pride. Humans had achieved something extraordinary, They had forced hesitation and disruption in a fleet that had seemed invincible. It was not just a technical victory, it was a testament to the spirit of humanity. Courage, unity, and intelligence had turned fear into action, proving that even against overwhelming odds, humans could prevail. Across the world, civilians, soldiers, and scientists shared in the moment. Messages of success and minor victories spread rapidly. Children who had once clung in fear saw the determination of their parents and neighbors. Cities echoed with the sounds of people working, monitoring, and coordinating. Humanity had become a single organism, united in defiance, intelligence, and courage. The alien fleet, now hesitant and disorganized, began to reassess. Some ships attempted retreat, pulling back to avoid further internal errors. Command nodes flickered as signals conflicted, creating temporary chaos. The aliens realized, perhaps for the first time, that humans were not predictable, not weak, and not obedient. Humanity had become more than a species to conquer. They were a force to be respected, even feared. Dr. Rao and her team knew the final moments were approaching. The aliens were retreating, but the battle was not yet over. Continuous monitoring, adaptive strategies, and precise pulses ensured that the disruption remained effective. Every human contribution counted, from minor interference devices to large-scale satellite relays. Humanity had shown that courage, intelligence, and collaboration could rival even the most advanced alien technology. As the alien fleet began to withdraw, humanity watched in cautious triumph. Ships moved away in disarray, some losing minor control while drones were recalled. The aliens had underestimated Earth, its people, and their capacity for action. Humanity had survived the ultimatum, resisted annihilation, and proven that their spirit could not be broken. Doctor. Rao looked at the screens and allowed herself a small smile. "We did it," she said quietly. "They're leaving. Humanity has stood." Her team nodded, exhausted but triumphant. It had been hours of tension, fear, and relentless action, but humanity had prevailed through courage, intelligence, and unity. Across the planet, people celebrated cautiously. Cities that had been tense with fear now echoed with relief. Volunteers, soldiers, engineers, and civilians alike shared in the victory. Humanity had not only survived, but had shown that they could fight back, adapt, and win against impossible odds. The alien threat had been immense, but human ingenuity had prevailed. As the night ended and the first light of dawn touched the horizon, humanity stood together, exhausted but proud. Dr. Rao reflected on the journey of the past 48 hours. Fear had been transformed into courage, despair into action, and the impossible into reality. Humanity had proven that intelligence, creativity, and unity could overcome overwhelming power. The alien ultimatum had not destroyed them. It had revealed their true strength. The alien ships disappeared over the horizon, leaving the planet scarred but standing. Humanity had survived the encounter, and in doing so had discovered a new sense of purpose, unity, and pride. Across the globe, people embraced, celebrated, and began the long work of rebuilding. They had faced extinction and emerged victorious, proving that the human spirit was resilient, clever, and unyielding. Dr. Rao stood outside her lab, looking at the sky where the ships had hovered. She thought about what humanity had accomplished. Not with the most powerful weapons, not with the most advanced technology, but with courage, intelligence, and unity. Humans had fought against impossible odds and had emerged victorious. The galaxy had seen that Earth was not weak, that humans were capable, and that their spirit could not be broken. And so, as the sun rose fully over a recovering planet, humanity celebrated survival, resilience, and ingenuity. The alien threat had been immense, but humans had proven that courage, intelligence, and unity could overcome even the most advanced forces. Earth was theirs to protect. Their ingenuity had been tested, and their spirit had triumphed. Humanity had faced annihilation and responded not with surrender, but with defiance, intelligence, and the undeniable power of their own resolve. The battle was over, but the lesson was clear. Humans could not be underestimated, and Earth was home to a species capable of extraordinary feats when pushed to the limits. Humanity had stood together, acted with courage, and shown that the spirit of survival was as much a weapon as any technology. The alien ultimatum had failed, and in its failure, humans discovered the true extent of their strength. And in the hearts of every person, from scientists to soldiers to ordinary civilians, burned the truth that had carried them through the crisis. Humanity could fight, endure, and prevail. Earth had survived, and humans had proven that no force, no matter how advanced, could take their courage, ingenuity, or indomitable spirit away. Aliens gave Earth 48 hours to surrender. They weren't ready for our response, HFY.